The Fujifilm X-T30 is the brand new entry-level camera from Fujifilm. And if you're following this channel, you know that I had the chance to try it for a very quick first impression video, but those were only a few hours testing the camera, and so you can only see so much about what this camera is capable of in such a short amount of time. And it also rained the whole time, so it made things even worse. This time I had the chance to try it for quite a long time, more than a month, and now I can finally formulate my final review about this camera. Now, for reference, I'll leave you the link to my first impression video over here. I'll try not to repeat myself, and so I'll only talk in this video very briefly about the things that I discussed in my first impression video. So if you feel like it, just pause this one, go check that one out, and then come back to watch this longer term review. Not long term, but longer term review. Now, my usual disclaimer. Fujifilm sent me this camera to review. I don't get to keep it. I wasn't paid, and they didn't tell me what to say. They don't know what I'm about to say. They will find it out the same time you will do. So feel free to consider me biased, but as usual, I'm trying to be as honest as I can when reviewing gear. My first impression was very positive, and I can confidently say that I can confirm those. Like, I'm pretty happy with what this camera is capable of. And let's be clear, this is not a revolutionary camera. This is just an evolution of, this is the third iteration of the X-T30, hence the Mark III name. And so, while not flashy when it comes to anything about the camera, because it feels like a camera that we've all known for quite a long time, at the same time, this means that this camera is being perfected through its generations rather than bringing always a new camera with new stuff and starting from scratch all the time. This camera encompasses all the things that Fujifilm has been in the past and it still is today, meaning it's a small, compact, and lightweight body with a retro vibes, with great color science, very good high ISO performance, plenty of options and functions, and basically it gets you way more than you would expect at the price point of sub $1,000 that this camera is being sold at. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of the launch of the Sony a7 IV. That is a $3,000 camera. It doesn't compete with this one at all. It's on a different level. It competes with cameras such as the XH2S if you want. So we're talking about a completely higher end level of cameras compared to this one. And if you haven't lived under a rock, you know that that camera has been criticized a lot for what it doesn't have in the video compartment. Because that camera doesn't have anything above 4K when it comes to video resolution, it doesn't have open gate, and it doesn't have raw video internal. Now, guess what? This camera, aside for internal raw video, it would make no sense at all to have it in this camera. At a third of the price of that one, gets you 6.2K and gets you 3x2 open gate. If you don't know what open gate is basically reading the whole height of the sensor instead of reading just a 16:9 or 17:9 aspect ratio. That gets you the flexibility to crop in vertical way easier than if you're cropping from a 16:9 aspect ratio. This camera gets you 6.2K open gate at 30 FPS. Now, does this make this camera compete with the a7 IV? Absolutely not. It would be silly to expect it. But this tells you that this camera is feature-packed way more than you should expect at its price point. Now, of course, being sold at $1,000, some compromises had to be made to make this camera possible. The real downside to this camera is the lack of a stabilizer in the camera body. And then the camera is not weather sealed and it sports a kind of smaller viewfinder with not a super high resolution. But aside from that, those are pretty much compromises you're gonna find in all entry-level cameras, so it's not something that you can say only about this one and this one, as I mentioned before, gets you a lot when it comes to specs, features, and capabilities. A beginner purchasing this camera will not overgrow it anytime soon. This camera gets you plenty of room to grow with it and to expand your capabilities without feeling that you're being limited by the camera. And when we're talking about an entry-level camera, when you say something like that about an entry-level camera, you've said it all. You can basically purchase it pretty easily without the fear of buying something that is going to be limiting you in the future. Now, in this month that I've used this camera, a little bit more than a month that I've used this camera, I forced myself into using it as my main daily driver. I use it for pretty much anything I was doing, from landscape to a long weekend in Budapest, so doing streets and travel stuff, from private events to gathering with friends here and there. So everything that you can possibly think, I was doing it with this camera. And this is the camera that is meant to accompany you in all those things. This is a camera that is meant to be, it's not specific. It's a camera that is supposed to get you flexibility into everything that you're doing. And I didn't feel like I was limited by the camera at all. The only limitation was the stabilization, just because sometimes I like shooting with primes. Primes are basically never stabilized, at least none of the primes that I have. So having a stabilization would have helped just to allow me to go a little bit down with the ISO, or having a longer exposure to get something moving in the frame. But aside from that, I never felt limited by the capabilities of this camera. And I'm not a beginner. I have pretty lofty expectation when it comes to cameras. Together with the camera, Fujifilm launched a brand new kit lens. And this kit lens is a 13 to 33 millimeters f3.5 to 6.3. Very much like the 15 to 45 that maybe this lens is going to replace. It's an all plasticky lens, and you need to extract the lens from its shortest position in order to be able to use it. But aside from that, it's just a normal lens, a normal kit lens. Now, the focal range is a little bit weird. At first, in my first impression video, I was pretty excited about the fact that this camera could go wider than your normal 16 to 50 or 16 to 55, 16 to 45, 15 to 45 that you have as your kit lens, because that opens up a little bit more possibilities when you don't have much room to work with. But in this month of use, I think I have missed more the telephoto, the mid telephoto part of the lens, rather than enjoying the wider range of this lens. So for me personally, I think I liked the 15 to 45 focal range better, just because 15 is already wide enough, and going to 45 gets you more flexibility in the type of shot that you can get. Going 45 means going something around 65 millimeters. So it's a little bit like a beginning of a telephoto lens. Stopping at 33, it's 50, and you basically lose the flexibility of going a little bit longer and getting a little bit of a different perspective in your lens. That being said, however, that is very subjective. You may love the idea of getting a 13 to 33 just because you always are on the wide end of the pictures. So it's fine. It is very, very subjective. From an image quality standpoint, this is a decent lens. There is nothing wrong with it, meaning that there is no immediate flaws that you can see, but at the same time, there is nothing super strong about it. And for the price, you can kind of expect it. You should not expect an exceptional lens at the price point of this one. But for me, I kind of prefer, based on what I remember, the rendering of the 15 to 45 compared to what I was getting with this. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. The lens is decently sharp. It doesn't show excessive flare or excessive chromatic aberration or anything like that. At the same time, however, it doesn't scream quality. So, an honest kit lens, but no more than that. Don't expect the quality that you get out of the brand new 16 to 50 that was launched with the X-T50. that lens is on a different stratosphere when it comes to image quality and what you can get with that lens. In a day-to-day use, I didn't have that many issues with the lens, as I mentioned, but there's one thing that kind of bothered me, and I didn't see that happening in my first impressions when I touched the camera and the lens for the first time. And this is the fact that yes, the lens is stabilized, but it kind of felt unreliable with the stabilization. What I mean by that is that I was shooting normal pictures that at 115, ranging from 1/15th of a second and 1/25th of a second at 13 millimeters, so at the wider end. And it's something that any stabilizer is capable of handling without any issues nowadays. Well, what I found is that those scenes, one scene was perfectly sharp, the other one was, with the same setting, was completely blurred. It was like the stabilization needs some firmware update to become 100% reliable. This is the only thing that I noticed, and it happened me 6-7 times throughout the time that I've used this camera. It was quite annoying because it kind of took away the confidence that I had with the stabilization of the lens, which meant I was overshooting because you never know whether the picture is gonna come pretty sharp or not. I am 99% sure this can be fixed via firmware, or it's something that depends on the specific one, because again, I didn't notice anything like that in my first encounter with both the camera and the lens. And so in conclusion, I can absolutely recommend getting the X-T30 for a beginner or for an enthusiast looking for a good compact body, or even for something more than an enthusiast looking for a second body or a third body. It does it all. It's pretty competent in everything that you do, video, photos. It's not overly filled with megapixel. 26 is more than fine for the vast majority of the situations, and it does everything, pretty well. If you need to buy a lens with it, if you can, I would probably recommend you buy the camera only, so without the kit, the 13 to 33, and buy a 15 to 45 used, which is going to come super cheap, because again, it's not about the quality of the lens. It's not necessarily about the quality of the lens. It's about the flexibility of the focal range. On the other hand, if you're on a tight budget, get this kit, and then eventually in the future, you may plan to upgrade to the 16 to 50 millimeters. That lens is a blast, is spectacular. Of course, it's bigger and a little bit heavier than this, but it's still compact and lightweight. Anyways, and performance-wise, that lens is just super good. So you have plenty of flexibility. If, on the other hand, you already know that you want a little bit more than what this camera can get you, I would recommend you looking at an X-T50 with the 16 to 50 millimeters kit. That kit is just spectacular. It's been part of my gear for more than a year. I loved it. I loved it for the whole time that I had it. It's a super capable combination, which is a little bit worse when it comes to video, just because the sensor readout is a little bit slower, so you're gonna have a little bit more issues with rolling shutter. With this camera, you get a little bit better video performance than that one, but when it comes to photo, the X-T50 is just a spectacular camera. And as I said, the 16 to 50 is another incredible lens that you can pair your X-T50 with. That is it for today. Thank you for watching. Ciao, and I'll see you in the next one.